All right, and with that, we're jump in. So we'll take a moment to meet our panelists as you navigate your academic experience here at UC San Diego. So if it's okay, I'm just going to go down the line in order of how I see folks on the screen. So if we could start off with Jenny, if you could introduce yourself, your position, and a little bit about what you'll be talking about today.
Hi, I'm Jenny Reiswig. I'm one of the librarians here at the UC San Diego Library. I'm actually the subject specialist for biology, but I'm here to talk about library services generally. So if you're a bio major or a bio grad student, I'm your librarian. And I'm just going to talk briefly about the library services that we offer in general and some specific for grad students.
All right, thank you so much, Jenny. Thank you for being here. Next, I'd love to introduce Martha.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks so much for hosting us as well. And I just want to let you know I am with the Teaching and Learning Commons, specifically the Engaged Teaching Hub. And my program within Engaged Teaching is the English Language Program for International Instructors. My role is to support all of the international TA candidates in their language skills and especially their teaching skills. And if I know I've met some of you already, but I look forward to meeting many more of you and supporting you today.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Martha. And last but certainly not least, I'd love to introduce Klaas.
Hi, I'm Klaas van der Wey. I am an education coordinator with the Academic Integrity Office. I am one of the instructors of our Academic Integrity Seminar. And today I'll be talking about what it means to excel with integrity during your time here at UC San Diego.
Wonderful. So as you can see, we have a number of folks from all across campus representing a few different departments who are all dedicated to here to support you as you navigate your academic journey. So with that, we'll go ahead and jump in to our program. So we'd love for you to maybe say, how are you feeling about starting your graduate program here at UC San Diego? If you go to menti.com, you can enter in kind of how you're feeling with the code listed on the screen. And I'll give a few moments for folks to be able to submit those. All right, so I think we have some really common responses of folks feeling excited, nervous, a little overwhelmed perhaps, worried, but also passionate. So I think it's important to emphasize that what you're feeling is completely normal. It's common to feel a lot of these emotions when starting this new program, and especially a new program of this magnitude. So we are excited to be able to partner with you as you navigate a lot of these emotions starting your new program. All right, and I believe I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Martha to talk a little bit about the academic culture here at UC San Diego.
Thank you so much, Grace. Yes, let's dive into the academic culture here at UCSD. When we talk about culture, we're talking about something that's incredibly complex, not just from an individual basis, but when we step outside of where we grew up, of what we're familiar with, we are entering a new culture. And what we see on the surface, for example, my Zoom background, you see a view of La Jolla Shores. It's very close to UCSD, but this is not necessarily going to be your everyday life, your everyday view. It's just what's on the surface of what our campus is all about. And today we're going to dive into that from an academic perspective. Everyone and every place has a culture, and culture is definitely how we shape or what shapes how we see the world and how we see each other. Next slide, please. Thank you. So our academic culture, what you see here are very famous images of the university. In the center, we have a Triton. This is our mascot, the symbol that unifies everyone that's a member of UC San Diego, faculty, scholars, administrators, students, Staff, all of us are UC San Diego Tritons. That is our community. Next to that, you have, of course, the famous Geisel Library, shaped like a spaceship, beautiful at night. And the photo on the right is our student center. And even at night, students will be there. Life is there. There will be things to do. UC San Diego, of course, is nationally ranked as a research institution. It's a very busy place. Enter into a quarter system. Many of you, perhaps for the first time, get a calendar. It's a really quick paced time for learning, and you need to track all of the 10 weeks, and they happen 3 times. So know that you need to track this so you know where you are. And we are, quite frankly, often jokingly referred to as UC socially dead. This is not true. Your life is what you make of it. And so we're going to talk about campus culture, climate, as well as that academic culture to make sure you succeed. Next slide, please. And please click again. So in this academic environment, keep in mind that as PhD students, that it's multi-year and it's a highly structured program. They build each year one on top of the next, and research. Keep in mind you were successful undergraduate students. That's why you're in a PhD program or a master's program. And so ultimately, you might feel out of your comfort zone, out of where you usually feel and succeed as a student. This isn't unusual. It happens to all of us. But discomfort is not meant for you to feel that it's a failure or inadequacy. Somebody once asked me, Martha, you work at UCSD, and to me, it feels like you're a perfectionist. And my response is always, well, I'm not allowed to fail at UCSD. That's not true. We go through different parts of our lives where we're confronted with so many different constraints on our time. And it can feel overwhelming, but there's support for you. Next, please. And what I do want to remind you is that research happens first as a grad student in your department. Everything about policies and rules are department-based as a grad student. So know your department, meet your department staff. The culture in your department, you will have the academic culture, but you will also have a social culture. There are subcultures within every place that you exist in San Diego at UCSD in your department. And you're going to learn what those values and norms are. So keep in mind, it's time and meeting people and meeting ever more people for those special tips and advice to get you where you want to go to. Next. And as such, keep in mind, reading, writing, and speaking are certainly required. For some of you, there are other skills and talents you're going to be called upon to demonstrate in the music department, especially if you're a performer. Then the piece you compose, the violin that you play, we will all have different forms of demonstrating our expertise. And today I want to address reading, writing, speaking, and for those of you speaking for teaching, since many of you will be a TA. Next slide, please. Can you show the entire slide, please? Thank you. So ultimately here, Academic communication is critical. It happens in culturally distinct ways. I just mentioned that they are department specific, and then you join another group, and that group will be another subculture of your identity. And as new students, not just new international graduate students, but all of our new graduate students will work to find their place in this community. They will work to find their place in the spaces that they're interested in. And identity matters so very much. And we respect that identity. Your cultural experience will be more straightforward because you're entering the United States, many of you for the first time for your education. So there is that Western culture aspect to adjust to. And many of you are multilingual already as it is. Just know that now that you're here, it will continue to grow. Your skill set in cultures as well as multilingualism will grow even stronger, and you are allowed to grow. So don't fear not being an expert now. Don't fear making mistakes. You're allowed to grow, and we understand that growth, and we accept it. Next slide, please. So when you're reading the work of others in your discipline, please click, thank you. All through it, the way through. I'm sorry I didn't take these out. What I want you to think about when you're reading in your discipline is not only learn what it says, but how. If reading academic information in English will happen for you for the first time in your textbooks, notice the organization, the how of it. Pick out your favorite ways that organizational expressions are used and use them in your writing. Experiment. Notice the language that authors use. Notice the organizational structure. And ask yourself, do I like this writing? You don't have to like every writing style you come across, but also ask what's happening here, and ask, what does this teach me about how I want to communicate? And again, it's your launching point for many of you who have not yet experienced education in the US. And when you're writing to others especially, be patient. It's required. I was discussing this with a faculty member recently in the history department. And again, you're allowed to grow, be patient, but also ask a lot of questions. Never hesitate. Take lessons from what you're doing into your writing. Give yourself time. And remember that discomfort that came up earlier. Expect it, sit with it, anticipate the need to change, and know that you have a support system at UCSD to help you with that change. And always remember to ask for the support you need. Seek your colleagues' feedback, anybody. My graduate students have asked me to read their papers, and I did so willingly and with respect, knowing that I might encounter some issues in the writing. But I enjoyed learning about their incredible research, and I especially enjoyed supporting them and helping them to make changes that were needed for success. Okay, make your learning more social. Next slide, please. Thank you. So for our academic culture, some questions that you might have, who do I go to? Well, as mentioned earlier, your department is your central place of belonging at UCSD. So go to your faculty advisors, go especially to your staff support. and they can guide and advise you from there, and then extend your network. Lots of people find me eventually. I'm certainly happy to support and help you and guide you to where you can find additional support. For remote learning, think about that then with your department, because hopefully we'll be fully in person at some point this academic year. We won't be in this beginning quarter, but know that we're here to help you and support you. And if I'm the only person I'm going to go to for help, trust me, I will help you and guide you. How do you address your professors? I err on the side of formality first. Professor so-and-so, it's a pleasure to meet you. And then they'll tell me what that answer is. Qualifying to TA. I've already met many of you. Please, please contact me for those questions about teaching, the English requirement. If you don't understand your professor, if they don't understand you, this happens as we all adjust to this culture and climate. You should never hesitate to talk to the professor, to ask them. Unless you ask, we'll never know. We need to support you better. If you get sick, certainly we have healthful resources for you. We have student health services. We are here to support you. You will meet new friends. Many of our students were very successful last year in meeting and connecting remotely. I've met all of my students remotely, and we're together in all of this. How do you make UC San Diego feel like home? Well, a part of that, one, is you need to take a step toward that effort and reach out. And two, continue to connect and meet people. Seek out support from your peers. In ISPO especially, it's an amazing place for all of us on this campus. And it's a much cherished space for us all in meeting and helping each other. Next slide, please. So tips and resources. Here are places to go. If you have questions about your requirements, teaching and fees, the person to first go to is your coordinator. If your faculty are not responding, one, give them some time. I know that they want to respond to you, but also attend their office hours. If for English language issues and concerns, please go to extension. For concerns about teaching, contact me. I've already heard from so many of you, and I'm so happy that you found me and asked your questions. If you want feedback on your writing, please go to the Writing Hub at the Teaching and Learning Commons. Next slide. So I want to leave you with an image here. At UC San Diego, we're so lucky to have sculptures, works of art, and this one by Doho Soo, a Korean who came to the US and had this feeling of adjustment that was very strange and took some time. You see this beautiful sculpture. It's high up on the top of the Jacobs School of Engineering building. It's currently closed, but when it opens, I encourage you to visit it. It's a beautiful sculpture. There's a garden. You will see so many views, amazing views from the top of this building. It's called Fallen Star. It describes when you walk into the house, because you can walk in, you have a feeling of displacement. And that displacement is the changing position of objects. The house has a chandelier, it has furniture in it, but it doesn't feel normal. That may be how you feel now that you're in San Diego, or maybe that you're anticipating coming to San Diego. know that this is an experience we might all feel and are adjusting to a new culture, a new place. But it's a beautiful piece of art that you can physically walk into, and it might make you understand why you feel the way you do. Next slide, please. So here's what we suggest for you as a way to start to feel connected rather than displaced. The Teaching and Learning Commons to the left, we offer so many resources for graduate students. Please come to us, please use us. In the center, you see Grad Vantage, a graduate division resource. It helps you to develop professional skills. Please utilize this. Please utilize the Triton Student Union. As mentioned, we're all Tritons. If you have needs, you're moving here, you need supplies, please go to the Basic Needs Center. When your paycheck doesn't last, go to the Triton Food Pantry. We welcome you to take the food that's needed. Sometimes we have too much food and we have to give all of it away. Please utilize that resource. When you're not feeling yourself and maybe you've forgotten your own well-being, you've had too many deadlines, too many conflicting priorities, counseling and psychological services, it's free. It's a wonderful resource to guide you back to the feeling of stability and well-being and good health. Also to remember, we need to exercise. We need to have fun when we exercise. UC San Diego Recreation offers every hobby, every sport, every imaginable way to do something that isn't studying, researching, writing, and reading. Please expand your hours of how you commit to your mental health and well-being. And I think one more slide, please. Just keep in mind that there will sometimes be setbacks that we didn't expect, but a setback means that there will be a comeback, and we celebrate those comebacks with you. Remember never to give up, and know that there is a program of support for you no matter where you happen to land. It was a pleasure presenting to you today. Thank you. And now we go to our next speaker.
Welcome to UC San Diego. I would like to acknowledge that you've worked hard to earn your way here into this serious community of scholarship. And you now take on the responsibility to uphold a tradition of preserving integrity to keep your intended degree and the degrees of those who came before you and those who follow you both valuable and respected. And those are qualities which we imagine drew you here in the first place. Next slide, please. One more. So when we talk about, yeah, that's it, thank you. When we talk about cheating, common terms that we use to describe that include academic integrity violation, academic misconduct, academic dishonesty. Next slide, please. And such actions can result in adverse effects to your GPA or enrollment, failing an assignment or a course, probation or suspension, and sometimes even dismissal, as well as limits to what you actually learn. But my purpose here today is more than to simply remind you that cheating is bad. In fact, we believe that integrity is about how we treat others and how we wish to be treated. Next slide, please. In this fast-paced society that we live in, it's ingrained in us to make decisions quickly, And that kind of pressure makes it difficult to always remember that our actions have consequences, not only for ourselves, but for others, and sometimes, farther beyond who we may imagine. A choice you make for yourself may also have implications for your classmates, for colleagues, instructors, supervisors, the university, and yes, even society at large. So our approach to academic integrity at UC San Diego is rooted in very straightforward values, which are inspired by the International Center for Academic Integrity. Next slide, please. We define integrity as the courage to be honest, respectful, responsible, fair, and trustworthy, even when it is difficult to do so. Integrity means honestly submitting work for academic credit only if it is a true and accurate reflection of your knowledge and abilities and not those of others. Integrity means responsibility, taking steps to ensure that you act accordingly with the standards and the expectations of this academic community, even if they differ from the standards and expectations you may have been used to in the past. Integrity means openly and respectfully acknowledging when you're using the words, ideas, or work of another person. And integrity means fairly earning your grades according to the standards and the expectations laid out by the university, its professors, rather than following what your own ideas are in terms of what is okay to do. Integrity means doing all of that, even when no one is looking or forcing you to do so. Integrity also means being courageous to accept a low grade rather than undermine any of those values, or to say no to someone who asks you to violate any of these values, and to interrupt or report actions by others which do not uphold these values. Next slide, please. So here are some common examples of integrity violations. Completing an academic assignment with others without permission, using sources without citations, copying another student's assignment, either in part or in total, and trying to submit it as your own, copying your online quiz or assignment answers from the internet or from anyone, really. Paying or even just asking someone to create, either in part or completely, an assignment for you. Translating any part of an assignment. Again, you'll want to speak with your instructor about what methods are acceptable. And asking for the solution to an assignment, whether it's for an exam or whatever it may be, but just from a source that is not authorized by the instructor. Okay. So this courage to be honest, respectful, responsible, fair, and trustworthy, even when it is difficult to do so, is demonstrated in the way in which we take responsibility for knowing what our program requirements are, respecting others' time and effort by being fair and prepared and prompt in our meeting commitments, by truthfully admitting, I don't know. Being honest and admit when we're feeling overwhelmed, and also by being courageous to seek support from university resources. Next slide, please. And yet we understand that sometimes that can be difficult to do, right? So we must work at recognizing when we ourselves are facing the pressure to succeed, or the pressure from deadlines or conflicting priorities, social pressures, even struggling with academics or the language. We must also take care by being aware of our own personal stresses. Sometimes that's our own perceptions about a class or an instructor. And those interruptions to our work and to our focus as a result of either life or world events. Next slide, please. So this kind of proactiveness takes the form of knowing the rules and the standards. And when you don't know, ask. Get familiar with the policy on the integrity of scholarship and the integrity of research policy. Make sure that you fully understand the syllabi and the assignment prompts. And if you're ever unsure or have any doubts, ask. Understand why all of this matters and reduce your temptations, whether they be distractions. Maybe that's managing your time or prioritizing. Probably most important is actually having a method for recognizing and making ethical decisions. And to do that, seeking help from university resources. Next slide, please. For instance, your professor or your TA, the Teaching and Learning Commons, right? The Writing Hub, tutoring and study spaces, academic advisors, again, CAPS, the Counseling and Psychological Services, ISPO, and of course, our office, the Academic Integrity Office. Next slide, please. So please know that we are always here to help. We believe that a misstep is an opportunity to learn, and we're always happy to provide consultation. We have a full-time staff of 8 career staff members. We have dozens of student staff supporting our various programs. And we have review board members and advisors who are students and faculty. Next slide, please. To wrap up, we are here to support your success. We encourage you to visit us at our front desk, which is virtual for a good portion of this quarter, and also review our website at integrity.ucsd.edu. I wish you all the best, and I welcome you aboard as new Tritons. And I'm happy to hand it over to Jenny.
Hi, thank you. That's great. So I want to just give you an overview of the things that you can expect from the library to support your studies and your research and your teaching while you're here at UC San Diego. So this is a whole big slide full of links, but you can explore this later. I don't think you can click on the links yourself in the presentation, but once the recording is available, that's why they're all written out there. So this is the library's homepage. It's just library.ucsd.edu. We encourage you to bookmark this, and pretty much everything I'm going to talk about can be accessed through this page. If you want to just go back to the slide for a second. The next link on there is a getting started guide. It's kind of a list of the things to do first. So I would encourage you to visit this. If you are living off campus, if you are, or even if you're living on campus, but you like to study sometimes at Starbucks or other off-campus locations, you're going to want to set up your computer to use the campus VPN. And that's going to be required in order to get you to our e-journals, the databases we subscribe to, our ebooks that we subscribe to, anything that's like a commercial product that we subscribe to for the UCSD community. The instructions for using it for library resources are a little bit stricter than the ones that the campus has just for general everyday internet use. So please make sure to follow the directions on our link to the VPN stuff. You'll find it all over our website. We've got it everywhere. You have to install the little VPN client, and then there's a particular way to connect called All Through UCSD, and that is probably the #1 pitfall that folks have. They think they've done everything. They try to connect to an e-journal, and it doesn't work. That 99% of the time, that's the problem. So just give that a shot. Every subject area has a librarian. Some of us cover more than one area, but there's somebody whose job is focused on buying resources for that area, developing resource guides, knowing which are the best databases. And so if you take a look and see who is your librarian, maybe set up an appointment sometime this quarter with them to make sure you have a good understanding of what the best things are that we subscribe to for your area. Your campus ID card is your library card. So when you come to the library to borrow materials, that's your library card. Grad students, you get to take out 500 books at once if you really want to, and you can keep them for a year unless somebody needs them before that. We also will borrow materials for you from other libraries if we don't have exactly the item you need. And if there's something that's super important for your research, we also have a way for you to request that we purchase that material for the library. Further down on this list, there are some sort of versions of this guide for different discipline areas, but you're probably going to be best off just to try to go through those subject guides that we have listed above and find the one for your particular subject area. And those are usually put together with the kind of the best, like the top 5 kind of things, resources in each area. If you want to go back to the slides. So there are 2 libraries on campus. The main library is Geisel Library. There was a picture of it earlier in the slideshow. It's the big pyramid, kind of in the middle of campus at the north end of Library Walk. But there's also a smaller library called the Biomedical Library, which is at the south end of Library Walk next to the medical school. It's smaller, that doesn't have as long hours, but it's a great place to hide if people are looking for you. The UC Library Search, which is kind of in the middle here. You don't need to click on any of these links just now. We have the library catalog and a basic articles, find me articles on my topic search. It's called UC Library Search, and it's the same system for all 10 UC campuses. And that just debuted this summer. So if you had know folks who had been here before, it's all new. And that will you can set up an account on there, and that will track what you have out, remind you of what's due. You can renew your items in there, set up some preferences, and save things in there. For more advanced searches and for your more advanced research, UC Library Search is great for finding out what books and journals we have, but there's almost always a better database to use, whether you're in engineering or theater or biomedicine or whatever the discipline. We've got really specialized databases for you that will have more of the features that you really are looking for. So these research guides, we have them by every subject, and we also are very happy to work with faculty and instructors to put those together for specific classes, especially if they have like a library-oriented assignment that the students are supposed to take. We're very happy to work with instructors to put those together for your specific class that you're teaching. So please do take advantage of that. Finally, just as my other colleagues have said, don't get stuck. We have, and you can click on this link at the bottom there, don't get stuck, ask us for help. Thank you. This is available 24/7. I don't work 24/7, but we're part of a global network of academic libraries around the world, literally, and there is somebody working all the time that can at least start to get you unstuck. So things like, I can't figure out if you have this journal. Do you have this journal? All that kind of thing. There's a little chat widget on here. You can ask your question literally anytime. And if the person who's on duty covering for us can't help, they will refer it back to us and somebody from our campus will get back with you about that. You can make up an appointment, either online mostly, but we're starting to come back and do in-person consultations. So if you have questions about your research, about managing citations, anything like that, we're very happy to help you out with that. You can go back to the slide. Thank you. And you can go on to the next slide. I just want to highlight a few things that are kind of specific for you as graduate students. In the Geisel Library, there is a space that you can book and use for your office hours. If you need to do a TA consultation, you probably will not get your own office somewhere, but we have spaces for TAs to use. We also have some other more advanced services that just want to make you aware that they exist, and you may not need them this quarter, you may not need them for a while. But if you're, for instance, doing research, we have a research data curation program. So as you accumulate data sets as part of your own original research, and if you're publishing and you're required to publish a data management plan, we have consultants that can help with that. We have a data and GIS lab and folks that are expert in those areas. So if there's data sets you need to find or manage or refine or clean, things like that, we have folks that can help you out with that. If you're looking for places to publish your work, we have a coordinator who helps folks find the good places to publish. If you're trying to comply with an open access mandate, like UC research is supposed to be published open access so that the public has access to what they've paid for, we can help you find good journals to do that. And then when you get to the point of teaching, we also have consultation available. You want workshop help drafting an assignment. We work closely with the Teaching Hub to work on those kind of things as well. So again, please don't get stuck. Please ask us for help. And thank you very much. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the Q&A and I'll try to address them live while the other speakers go, and then we'll also address them at the end. So look forward to seeing you in the library, and thanks very much.
Hello again. So I will be representing the Writing Hub today. We've recently started to change things up. So the graduate student services have not yet been fully pulled together for you before the quarter starts, but they will be posted on the Writing Hub website as soon as those workshops are settled. The kinds of workshops, we want to introduce you to the practice of writing as well as putting together the reading. Many of you will be reading volumes of books in English for the first time, and the reading is intense. So I just want to encourage you to keep a lookout at the Writing Hub for the offerings that are to come in the coming weeks, especially week 0, which is next week, and week 1. We want you to have a successful start, and you'll find workshops then and there on the website. Next slide. Yes. And so what we want to do is we don't often think of reading as a social observation, but it actually is. And it's great to get together at the Writing Hub with fellow students and to be able to discuss the readings, to get more out of them, as well as to support one another. So we do have a graduate community. We at the Writing Hub employ many graduate students who are wonderful at guiding you to your best writing, and especially also linking that into the reading, where there will be tips for how to read through so much material in a short quarter system. And so you'll want to be able to learn from the reading, the organization of the reading, picking up all of that vocabulary, and in terms of the writing experience, you'll be able to work with graduate students there who have already been through successfully writing and supporting you as a new student to UCSD. All of the services at the Commons are free. Next slide. Thank you. So the things that you might want to consider right now is content. as well as form and conversation. Those are the types of things to consider before you start that reading in your PhD program. Look at the framework. As the person who helps with the practice of teaching, I cannot emphasize enough the importance of utilizing all of the skills, reading, writing, speaking, listening. All of that begins with framework, context, how things are organized. In teaching, the best instructors, those who earn the highest marks from their students, there is context, framework, transition. Guide the learner. The same will guide you in your reading. And let's see, we can go to the next slide. And so for engaging as a writer, determine what your purpose is first for the writing assignment and who's going to read it. And by the way, your faculty will also guide and advise you when they read your work. And you will never be in doubt as to how you're doing. And they will guide you with empathy, concern, and compassion. So as mentioned, there may be some level of discomfort in your new path, academically speaking, but frequent feedback is something that we offer, and it's very effective in supporting you and getting you to where you need to go. Please note the annotation system that your program asks you to use. Every department will have its own requirements for you. So your department will guide you in that system, and come to the Commons Writing Hub to master how to use that system. That's why we're here. In terms of summaries after reading, you will be happy that you created and wrote these periodic summaries and tracked them. Find a system that's going to work for you and with you to keep track of all that you're reading and how it's connected and how you can continue to learn from them. And I actually use an Excel spreadsheet to track all of the things I learned during this last 1.5 years of pandemic. And when we were learning anti-racist pedagogy, there was so much reading that I did. And I used a spreadsheet to keep track and remind myself of the great reading that I worked on, and keep it organized. Use a reference management library. Those are listed for you on the slide. Make your own. But all that we ask you to do is to use the system that worked for you in achieving in your work, but also know that you might want to incorporate some of our suggestions. That would be a new system for you, so that the quarter system is manageable. And probably the one thing that happens, and it can happen to all of us, is we fall behind in the quarter system. Well, we're a resource to help you catch up in that respect as well. Not only to get ahead, but we're here to make sure you catch up and that you know where you are and feel comfortable and confident with where you are. Next slide, please. And so reading and writing are very much thinking and talking and learning, also listening factors in there. So together with the Writing Hub for international graduate students, the aspects of speaking, working on your talks, guiding you to be able to give a good talk, to write a great paper, and to link thinking and reading with those skill sets. And then you will, in your practice, become a better writer and a great presenter, no matter who your audience is, whether they're undergrads learning from you, their TA, or whether they're your colleagues in your classes, or whether it's to a faculty panel that's assessing where you are in year 2 or year 3. All of these skills you can develop at the Teaching and Learning Commons. Next slide, please. The Writing Hub helps writers. They don't write for you. Keep that in mind. And they build networks for you, people that you can connect with who aren't necessarily in your department, and you build a support community. You have a sense of belonging in that community. There are one-on-one consultations. There's a daily virtual writing room. Oh, the graduate retreats. I've recommended my own students to go there, and they've enjoyed them tremendously. One of my colleagues is currently finishing his PhD, and he goes to these writing retreats. You just feel better about what you're working on, not stuck. Writing and peer review groups, weekly grad writing workshops, and dissertation writers workshops. I know you're just starting, but keep that in the top of your mind for the future when you're ready to finish. The Writing Hub offers a number of workshops that support you and will continue to help you in your success with writing. Just keep in mind, writing and speaking are 2 skills that require practice. Keep practicing. Never let up. Revisit it just when you think there's nothing more you can learn. Maybe revisit us, come to a workshop, contact us for a meeting, and we can continue to support and take you to the next level. Next slide. Questions?
All right, so I know that we've had a number of questions submitted throughout our session, and our panelists have been really hard at work answering those questions. So I believe that many of those answers have also been made public, so I would encourage you to check those out in case that is helpful for you as well. I'm going to give a few more minutes to submit any last questions you have, and then we're approaching the end of our hour, so we will wrap up in the next few minutes. So I would encourage you, if you have that burning question, make sure you submit it now, and we'll do our best to get to it before wrapping up our session. A few final reminders before we begin. So I personally believe that orientation, there's like 2 big things, right? One is getting this really important information, like so many of our presenters shared with us today. And the second thing is a chance to meet new people. You're coming to UC San Diego, you want to find your community, and you are a part of the Triton community. And a great way to do that is through our meetups. So we have 2 different types of meetups. One is our regional-based meetups, where you can meet students maybe from your same home region, maybe you want to meet students from another region. You can check those out. And our second meetup is interest-based meetups. So to find students with similar interests as you. So maybe you're really into hiking. Maybe you're wondering how easy is it to be vegetarian in San Diego. There are so many interest-based meetups, and the way to find all of those, register, see those dates and times is by visiting iorientationucsd.com/meetup. And then I really want to make sure that all of our students are aware of our iEvents calendar. So our iEvents calendar is not only really popular right now, but it actually exists throughout the academic year. So if you're ever wondering, like, what's there to do on campus? What's going on? I encourage you to check out iEvents.ucsd.edu. This is a live calendar that's actually populated by programs from our office, programs from partnering offices, as well as from student orgs. So there's a lot of different chances to get involved, to meet new people. and become part of the Triton community. And then a few final reminders. So you can definitely go to iorientationucsd.com to register for other sessions. We have a lot of different sessions on a lot of different topics that I encourage you to check out. Next, it's important that you know we verify your attendance for this session by you completing the survey. So it's really, really important that you complete that survey. You can access the survey in two ways. One, the web browser that you use to open this webinar will actually automatically refresh when this webinar ends with that survey link. So as soon as the webinar ends, you'll see the web browser will have that survey link and you can access the survey really easily that way. If for some reason you can't access the link that way, or maybe you miss it, you will also get an email tomorrow that's a one-day reminder saying, hey, here's your survey link. Be sure to fill this out to meet your 2-session mandatory requirements. Finally, if for some reason you aren't able to access the survey, or you're like, oh, what was that link? Feel free to email iprograms.ucsd.edu. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat, and we can help you and assist you with that survey link. And then finally, in order to stay up to date with our office and to know everything that's happening, iUpdates is where we put all of our latest updates. You also should be receiving our weekly newsletter that has a lot of those updates. You can come in now. We are back in the office on a hybrid schedule, so you can both attend Zoom advising hours as well as some of our in-person walk-in advising. And we encourage you to connect with us on social media. You can see our handle on screen. That's a great way to get involved. To kind of see, I think we're going to be doing some giveaways this week. So I would encourage you to follow us on social media for some fun ways to engage with us. All right, so we are at the end of our time. And we are going to wrap up. I want to give a huge thank you to all of our presenters for all of this wonderful information. They are just, as you can see, there's so many amazing staff and faculty here on campus that's really dedicated to your academic success as an international Triton. I'm really grateful personally to work with these folks, to partner with these folks, and to welcome you to our UC San Diego community. So that's all the time we have together today, but I just want to thank our partners, thank our presenters, and thank you for attending our session today. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thank you.